and welcome. This is Enterprise TV special broadcast marking President Bola Tinubu's first year in office. Our job here is simple. Hold Nigeria to the mirror and see whether she has taken shape in the past year under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu. I am Olajumoke Alaude James and I will be moderating the panel conversation today. Let's start by saying you can join the conversation by leaving your comment in the section on YouTube. We're at Enterprise TV 7. The same handle applies across all social media. Now let's get to it. There's no denying the fact that Nigeria isn't where it was at the end of May 2023 when President Tinubu came to power. Here's one thing though. We can liken his performance to the rain. Where the eyes deny it, the skin feels it. And very much like bad weather, it appears everything can be blown wrong, has either been blown wrong or is being blown wrong. Let's even consider this. America's 16th president was a man of unusual courage. He fought to keep his country in one piece at the cost of his own life. Can Nigeria's 16th president wake up to the billing to beat back inflation, reduce insecurity, stabilize the naira, reposition for foreign direct investment, cut back on needless taxes, be more inclusive, and define a national purpose and direction for Nigeria? My guests for the program, in no particular order, are Dr. Olayinka Oyebile, journalist and journalism educator; Emeka Madunagu, journalist and public affairs analyst. I know Emeka is active in the housing sector also. Charles Ideo is also here, is a journalist and communication strategist. You're welcome, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you very much.
It's great to see you. So let's get right into it. 1 year after President Tinubu's ascent to power as Nigeria's leader, there are many statistics, and I'll be reading out some of them, that journalists like yourself have, that the public may not have, that will help us, break down this 1 year, right? Some political analysts, if you say, or if you call them that, like Professor Wale Soyinka said, the gentleman has not been in office long enough for us to analyze him. Some others are saying in every serious, country, you analyze from 100 days to, 1 month to 6 months to a year. You continually hold every government accountable. To do that rightly in Nigeria is why we're here today. Charles, I'd love to start with you. You've been a public and political analyst for several years, and I personally have followed you. What is your opinion of President Tinubu's 365 days? First, do you give him a pass mark? Let's say out of 10, what would you give to him? And whatever you answer is, please tell us why.
Okay. Thank you very much one more time. Let me say this, that to be very difficult to score the president over 10, because I would like to look at this government sectorially and also pick the ministries, because anywhere you go all over the world, whether it's democracy, whether it's monarchy, whatever form of government, you also want to look at the people around the leader. If a leader is going to do well, you look at the people who he surrounds himself with. If a leader also do not well, you also look at the quality of the people he surrounds himself with, cabinet member, if you will. In today, if you look at today, when you look at Tinubu, who came in on May 29, 2023, is somebody that we've been told has prepared for the job for so long a time. So we don't expect him to falter. We don't expect him to start trudging on like a baby who is try to get the first step. Now, Tinubu came in here, so you expect somebody who has prepared for a long time would have a working document that he would just unleash on the economy, unleash on everywhere where he started. But we're still floundering. The reasons are very simple. Now, when you look at the ministries, and you have 35 ministries, statutory ministries in Nigeria, and then you have 46 ministers. I personally have taken time to look at the ministries and look at the ministers, it will shock you, I hope, that out of 46 ministers, I couldn't get up to 5 by my own estimation that are actually doing work. I couldn't go to 5. Now, that's why I say I'll be very careful not to give 1/10. But by the time I'm done with what I'm saying, whether it's 2/10, whether it's 3/10, you will help me give that score. Number one, I think when they just entered, the very first mistake that I could say, the way I look at it, is the inauguration speech. No leader does that.
Subsidy is gone.
Just like that. I had expected him to. I haven't got it to. Tinubu has always been a regional leader. He's never played national politics apart from 1992 when that infiltrated the Republic, that he was a minister after him. Then he came in. He's always been a regional leader. So you expected that getting in there should have known study the nuances, the political equation and all that of the national government. But he got in there without even settling down. Then he made that very, very
expensive.
In fact, very toxic. Because we look at it today. And we have not found any way out of that cul-de-sac as we speak today. Because of that singular statement, something was gone. You are not settled down to know exactly what is why should it go? Why should it go? What should we do? Are there stopgap measures we could put in place and all that? Then he just said it will gone alone. So going back to the ministries, apart from Olubemi Ojo, who just came in, maybe initial gragra, also a passport within 2 days, 2 weeks, you get a passport. Sitole is still doing his best. Then Umahi, even though that's also debatable, Umahi is seen to be doing something along that. Exactly. Then Minister of Agriculture, apart from their voting money here and there, but I've not seen anything. We still have a hunger in the land. These are the 3 I've seen out of 46. Maybe that should help you tell me whether 1/10, 2/10.
3 out of 46. That's 0.5.
Oh, thank you. I leave that to you.
So, Dr. Oyegbile, from what Charles has said, right? Even though President Tinubu promised us that he was going to hit the ground running, he started on the wrong note, making pronouncements that were toxic, as he put it. Do you agree with that? And if you were going to rate his 365 days over 10, what would you rate it?
Well, I agree absolutely with Charles, because as far as I'm concerned, the very first mistake President Tinubu made was that subsidy is gone issue. Because even when a military government takes over, it gives you some breathing space and let you accept the government.
We even got into the office and analyze why is subsidy there in the first place.
Now, the outgone government had made provision for
subsidy for
till June. Take that 1 month, study it, and look at it and say that, okay, this is where this thing was wrong, and this is where is right, and so on and so forth. But you came in, well, a school of thought said that if he didn't say it, he wouldn't have been able to implement it.
Okay.
But Tinubu has always
been cautious,
commenting himself that he's a very bold leader.
Okay.
As a bold leader, whether it is good or bad, or whether you know people who are behind this subsidy thing and so on, they come and convince you, assuming he waited till end of June, that's what I'm saying. If he had waited and he noted that, look, this thing is wrong, yes, we have to take it away, whether they try to convince him or not, if he's a bold leader that he has always been saying, he will do it. But those who are in his camp or those who support the so-called subsidy withdrawal, because as far as I'm concerned, I still call it so-called up to today. You remember in 1983, the late MP Abiola on the TV debates, presidential debate, asked that up till that moment, as an accountant, nobody has ever told him how much they refined
But
oil. And up to this moment, nobody has told us how much they refine it.
41 years after.
So now, if you now come in, you didn't study the situation as a person. Tinubu was an outsider in Buhari's government. We all know that, even though he was an enabler of Buhari in the 2 terms. And Tinubu, as of 2016-18, they already knew that Buhari was not it at all. But because of his and their own selfishness, they supported him even for a second time. Because if you knew that this man cannot carry this country through, why support him till in 2019? The reason simply was that if they had not supported him, and another northerner, because that must be what we as we normally do in Nigeria, another northerner, if they support, if he wins, we come in and say he will also do 2 terms. It will be too late for Tinubu to come. And if they support another candidate and Buhari eventually wins, they know he will move against it. So all these things, whether
it's all about political machinations, it's not about the interest of the masses.
Of one single man.
Personal interest.
Personal interest.
That's it.
So for me to score him, let me quote an article I just read shortly before I came in. Written by Professor Tony Falola, is an eminent Nigerian historian in the US. He says, Nigeria from Obasanjo in 1999 to Tinubu in 2024 represents a dim future of optimism.
Wow.
What it means is that, when you look at it, whether from Obasanjo till now, all of them, they have never been able to show them. Why is it that more Nigerians are traveling Japan in 2023-24 than ever? So,
than in the 80s.
And you now ask yourself, in the same article, he quoted the security tracker about Nigeria, that 5,000 people have been killed in 1 year under Tinubu.
Wow.
And 7,000 have been kidnapped in that 1 year. So in 4 years, in 8 years, what will happen? And this is
I hope he doesn't have a multiplier effect.
And this is a man who have been that has been advertised that he has the
magic wand,
the master plan on paper. Please unleash that master plan on Nigeria. Nigeria is bleeding and there's trouble. In all honesty, I know how much I spent to keep myself
alive.
No, if I say alive, it's like I'm dying.
Okay.
I keep myself. You see, the money you use to fill your tank if you have a car some 2 years ago cannot even buy you half or quarter of a tank.
Yes. So if you used to fill your tank with 8,000 naira in 2021, you're probably filling the same tank with 40,000.
Exactly.
My car was about 40.
And now you ask yourself, when they come on there and they tell us Nigeria is better under Tinubu, and I ask myself, is it the same Nigeria?
How?
If I under APC, a bag of rice, when Buhari came in, was 8,500.
Yes, sir.
We were dragging it under Buhari, up till now is about 85,000 naira. And yet, they are talking of minimum wage of 54,000 or 57.
That cannot buy a bag of rice.
How does that work?
Okay. Emeka, I'm hoping that on this panel there's one person that supports President Tinubu, so that we can have a balanced conversation. Somebody must believe that what he's doing, these people, they are only complaining because they are now spending more to fuel their cars. But that Nigerians have to sacrifice first, because President Tinubu said to us that if we sacrifice now,
the written thing for them.
If we sacrifice now, we will enjoy in the future. But you're also a political analyst who, as unbiased as you are, you will tell us the things that he's done rightly, I'm hoping, and where he could have done better. If we all agree that the subsidy is gone statement was premature, right? But all of us had also all agreed that subsidy needed to go because it was a scam. It wasn't a scam, it was just
a drain pipe, if you will.
Yeah, a corruption pipe. You know. So if we agree that subsidy needed to go, he only needed to ensure that he knew, the statistics. He knew he had a plan for how to, mitigate the hardship that would follow that. Because there's a reason why government subsidize, anything at all. But I would love for you to tell us the things that he has, if you find any, done right in his first year, and then rate him.
Thank you very much. I think Tinubu had a wrong reading of the situation in which Nigeria was at the time Buhari was leaving. He had a wrong reading of the situation in Nigeria. He had a wrong reading of global events. And so he just walked right into a booby trap.
Wow.
Which he could have avoided. The subsidy thing, he was just played in the subsidy thing because they gave the impression that the Petroleum Industry Act was going to take effect, from April. That was, before Buhari's transition. And so that they will stop paying subsidy by the end of June, which was not true. And that by July, Dangote Refinery would have been in a position.
Would have been in operation.
Which was also a lie. So unfortunately, he had people around him who are more interested in just getting into office and enjoying the glamour of office. People did not have their heads, who did not have their ears to the ground. And so what happened? He walked right into the booby trap that some people in Buhari's government set for him. And the bomb shattered everything. I saw it coming. I said, okay, even though I didn't support him in the election, but I felt that I was just hoping silently that this man will try to understand that one is coming in wasn't, altogether supported by people around Buhari. So they will set up certain things that will really make him.
They will put banana peel.
Yes.
On his back.
So that I hope that this man will be careful enough to realize that this is not Lagos, this is Nigeria. Unfortunately, he jumped into it and he has continued to slide on those banana skins.
So how would you rate him over 10?
Okay. You mean me? No, for me, I don't even see any rating because if somebody has had opportunities to do well, under Buhari, we had a back-to-back recession. Then we had COVID-19, which Tinubu ought to have studied well and found a way to glide out. At least got Nigeria out of recession, to moderate growth. Then he would have then been able to sort out the subsidy thing. He would have avoided the booby trap of floating the naira. That was a booby trap that was set for him. And when Vice President Kashim Shettima was just talking about floating, I was just looking at this man on the screen that day. I said, who floats the naira without production? I said, who deceived this man? This thing doesn't exist in reality. This was just one of these Emefiele and Co were just using to play kalu with our economy. But they just swam into the shark-infested waters where they were lucky to have swum out. But where has he left Nigeria? Now, you have been taking loans. You have got to 70%, almost 80% of your threshold for domestic borrowing. So that means it leaves just little room.
Tight.
Then, abroad, you will be boasting about Euro bonds, and how many countries are actually raising money from Euro bonds? One of the things you were advised about, which Buhari played around, was cut the cost of governance.
Yeah.
You said you were going to cut the cost of governance. You came in and instead you enlarged the cost of governance up to the extent that Oshomole, one of your strong supporters, one of your henchmen, complained that the size of the government is bloated. Then security. You know what the real problem about insecurity is.
Okay.
Let's not pretend.
So we're going to eventually come to discuss Tinubu's 1 year in compartments.
Okay,
right?
but before
we
that,
will do security, we will do the economy, right? But I wanted to know if there's any, did any of us support Tinubu during the elections, hoping that he had a chance to save Nigeria?
Well, no, before sorry.
So let's take it one after the other.
Just what I wanted to say, because we were saying that in 2 or 4, I think you were actually blackmailing us that nobody. So let me read.
Did you support him during the election?
No, before that, let me stand in to wriggle us out of that blackmail. But there is indeed something that is working for this government that I haven't seen, or I didn't see before now.
Okay.
Is that this government appears to have a listening ear. You know, unlike before you say no going back, there's nothing like no going back in this government. You know, you come up with policy, they know that they have messed up, they quickly come out to own up.
May I take you up on that?
Please.
So the Calabar-Lagos coastal road,
which they're still going on.
Right? Everybody at the time said there was an original route for this road. Why are you going to coast and destroying businesses? Do you have the EIA, right? Environmental impact analysis of this road construction? And it was a huge media opera at the time that Minister Umahi came to Lagos and did a press conference saying, oh, we have it, everything, we have it, right? Now, they have launched that construction, which will cost us trillions.
About 2.8 trillion or something?
15.
And eventually, after destroying businesses like the landmark resorts, they're going back to the original route. If they were listening, if they were not, egoistic about it, or in fact, Umahi at the time made, very childish statements like our only opposition, leader Peter Obi was being tribalistic.
I was inciting
about the criticism, and he was inciting citizens against the government. Now, after destroying businesses, you are going back to the original route.
It's the same listening ear.
Did they listen?
No. Remember,
did they listen?
No, the listener has said it. Because if it had been Buhari government, he would do that without even saying there was original master plan also. I have instances to say that. I said personally,
no, but
you may not agree with me, but personally, that's what I think.
The minister said there was. Eventually, he came out to say,
look at the Air Nigeria Air, whatever. They also received it and all that. So there are instances you can cite to say, for me, I think this government appears to have the government
that's initiated Air Nigeria.
Yes.
Now, Minister Keyamo is saying it was a fraud. So it shows
Nigeria have been criticizing the policy and even the Hadisirika, all the money they voted, the design of
yes, is after
yes. So what I'm saying is that because of this furore and uproar, they seem to be, as I said, also the list is okay. Let's also hot it. So that's what let's do that now.
Let's do that.
This government has
what? The construction is going ahead though.
Which of them?
No,
I'm talking about the Air Nigeria. All it is, they're not going back.
To go ahead before. They only spent
so that's for me.
On logo.
Yeah.
They didn't have planes.
But they said they had offices which we didn't see.
No, they didn't have.
But now,
which is why
this government is saying they're not going forward with that. They have, and I should have said not even suspended. I think they should also have total cancellation is what I thought they should have been.
Okay. I would like to give us data, Dr. Oyebule. Before I come back to you, I would like to give us data that all of us can work with. Some hard facts. Inflation rate in May 2023 was 22.41%. In April 2024, the same inflation rate is now 33.20%. In 1 year, the food inflation rate increased by 15.17%. From 24.82% in May 2023 to 40.01% in March 2024. The cost of eating a healthy diet rose from 503 naira in May 2023 to 982 naira in March 2024. This is an increase of 95.23% in just 1 year. Let's talk about exchange rates. By May 2023, the exchange rate was at 461 naira to the dollar. By April 2024, same exchange rate is now 1,510 naira to the dollar, which is a 226.80% increase. Crude oil products. In May 2023, fuel price was 238 naira 11 kobo. In April 2024, fuel price is now 696 naira 79 kobo, which is a 192% increase. Diesel also quadrupled in the same time. By May 2023, kerosene price was also 1,206 naira 05 kobo. By April 2024, kerosene price is now 1,354.40 naira. May 2023, cooking gas price was 928 naira 45 kobo. By April 2024, cooking gas price is now 1,318 naira 32 kobo, which is 41% increase. The Tinubu administration presented its first budget of 27 trillion naira to the National Assembly in November 2023. The budget was, however, increased by 4.3% when it was passed in January 2024, 28.7 trillion. But, I mean, like I mentioned, a lot of data. So let us now come to discussing security. I was going to break down the analysis, into, economy, security, and first, the primary assignment of any government is to secure lives and property.
That's it.
And every one of us complained about the Buhari administration when life became worthless. We got so used to being statistics like chickens being killed. Terrorists attacked one village and killed 50.
It was only 25.
It has now become only.
It's only 25.
Meanwhile, one life lost is bad enough. But now, if it is not over 1,000, we are no longer bothered. We just scroll through the news. We've gotten used, to loss of human lives. The Tinubu administration came in and instead of getting better, right, they did, their new cabinet, security chief and all of that, all the loopholes, like I mentioned, the banana peels that were in the Buhari government that we assumed that if they were a serious government that was really coming to save Nigeria, should have studied and looked at what did they fail, how can we improve on it. It seems like we've just rolled back in years, So I would like for us to examine Tinubu's administration in terms of security in the last 365 days. We know that they've failed woefully. What could they have done differently?
First, I want to start by this, that one other mistake that Tinubu also made when he appointed his security apparatus, or people who to superintend over the apparatus, was the appointment of a retired policeman to head the military. As we speak today, though it's suppressed, the murmuring in the military is very, what you call a very loud silence. It's a loud silence. Because when you come, generals in the army to now take orders from a policeman, was not even an IG.
It was an AIG.
Was not even an IG. A general, a lieutenant general, major general, to now sit on, and then somebody who was a policeman was not even an IG, to now be giving them, they not be reporting to him. This is the very first time in Nigerian government from 1990 now that a non-military will be appointed to head the office of the national security.
Because it is the first time, does it mean that it is wrong to do?
No, I just explained to you that 1 minute, sir, or before 1 minute, You see, there are certain, whether you like it or not, the security of a country, the military cannot be wished away from it, because though that is more of against external aggression and all that, the police will need it, but you don't do that, because today the military is a highly trained and highly respectable.
So the policeman is not trained.
No, he's trained, but
he's not trained
in the cadre, in the strata, you don't bring somebody who is lower than you to now put him above you because you say it's a civilian government. You don't do that. Even in the US, people like what's the name of that black man under government? It was a black man during the Iraqi war and all that. It was a military man, but that was
Colin Powell.
Colin Powell was not a policeman. It was a military man.
In the same US, Condoleezza Rice was in national security advice. Yeah, university.
But again, also, their own democracy has endured.
No.
Has endured.
On that, at that point, I don't agree with that. What is the job of a national security advisor? You have a knowledge of security. We cannot say a policeman doesn't have a knowledge of security.
No, how do you say so?
The commander-in-chief is a bloody civilian. So, if the commander-in-chief can direct a general, why should the national security?
But you are talking as if it's an ideal situation we have here.
No, wait.
This is not an ideal situation.
No, when are we then going to have that?
Okay, so
it's still the same that you are not even set down, telling you down to also alive.
No, but if I may come in, if a national security advisor is just to advise, right? As far as the chief of army staff,
Chief of defense staff,
chief of defense staff,
advise the president based on the reports.
Yeah.
People who are submitting report to him are his senior. And you look at that.
See,
look at that. They are his senior. Militarily speaking.
So let's have a situation now. Sorry, please. If a president of Nigeria happen to be a sergeant and is elected president of Nigeria, will the general tell him that because you are
I'm your senior?
No, they are not the same. These are not the same.
Look at it. When they retired, many of these generals now were just lieutenant colonels.
Okay, so let us
when you see that way, in continuing.
Can we move on to
in continuing?
Okay, go ahead.
No, in continuing. Let me bury that.
We have no
For the economy.
Yes.
Do you know that the budget, a 7.5 trillion naira budget, that they blew up? They have not yet even been able to raise enough funds to fund the budget. They are still looking for money. They are still borrowing.
That's why they want to even go to
the debt management office. They are
pension funds.
They are still borrowing money left and right, looking for money.
Charles, please land your point.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that Dr. Igwe just read out statistics about 5,000 persons came in 1 year, 7,000 kidnapped and all that. Yeah. So when you look at that, you see that if we don't pray for anything, if you want to do a multiplier, you say, okay, if it is 1 year, 5,000, you say they're going to be having 10,000 kids 2 years and all that. So what I think the government should do is that we must look at it, go into the military and see there are people who are feeding fat from this insecurity. And these people will not let it end because you keep making money, you keep voting. So it is when the government has to sit down to tell them, look, you either shape up or you ship out. Only that, I think, they won't wake up to their responsibilities.
Okay, I know that you wanted to talk about security, but I was going to move to the economy.
No, the security thing has been taken care of.
Okay, so the economy in the last 1 year, I rolled out data about how much it used to cost for you to have a meal in 2023 and how that has doubled, quadrupled in some places for people. What could the Tinubu administration have done differently in the last 1 year? We were already under immense pressure under Buhari, where we were buying a bag of rice at 25,000 and the minimum wage of 30,000, and Nigerians were screaming, oh, and then Tinubu said, Emilio come, and promised, that things would be better. What could he have done differently?
Well, I still come back to the same point I raised. The issue of fuel is the crux of the problem we're having today.
Okay.
If that had not been, I'm sure it will perhaps have been coasting home free and have a hang on what is going on. As far as that is not solved, there's no way you can solve, because Look, when you go to a pepper man and he tells you the price of pepper, and then you say, is it dollar they use? That's a sense of ignorance because he used the pepper did not exactly did not get to the market by itself.
So let me be ignorant, Dr. Iyebule. Is it also fuel prices that affect exchange rates? Because a lot of our food is imported, right? Which is why the prices have doubled and quadrupled in some places.
There is a twin problem.
Okay.
Transportation itself and even the exchange rate. So you cannot take one, they are like Siamese twins. They go together.
So why is
that the CBN keeps increasing import duties? The rate for import duties. That is
why is our exchange rate on the free fall?
It's on a free fall now because one, our major export, which is crude oil, we are not meeting up to our OPEC quota.
Right.
2.2 because of oil theft. Because oil theft. So we are not meeting up to it. And you know, now the NNPC GMD says we are getting up to 1.7 million barrels per day. Meanwhile, don't forget that part of the revenue we get per day has already been forward borrowed. We have already used it in advance to take loans. So how much remains, you know, coming into the economy? What I think, you know, Tinubu needs to do now is that he needs to just take those his media advisors. You know, those guys are just earning salaries and doing nothing because they are just interested in insulting people. What he needs to do now is to sit down. The food silos are empty. The food reserves are empty. So he must roll out the military to remove herdsmen, kidnappers, or whatever from the forest. And there must be, within the next 6 months, there must be massive cultivation, rolling tractors. There must be massive cultivation of food. If we don't solve the situation in 6 months, I tell you, we will not be talking of exchange rate or inflation. Because if you remember, during Abacha's time, when there were sanctions on Nigeria, that's when 1994. That's when we had the highest inflation rate in Nigeria, 76%. We are now looking at 50%. We are blinking at 70%. If we get to that, I don't want to picture that scenario, but we must today tell ourselves the truth. We just have to ramp up agricultural production. I know a lot of agricultural production is going on, but it's still largely at subsistence level. Let him take money if it's a loan or something, or via money from somewhere. Get tractors. Get people into the farms. To kick out all those criminal elements in the farm. Let us first of all have food security. The headline inflation is being pushed up by food inflation. If you can get food inflation down, people can see food to eat. At least he can have some breathing space to deal with whether it's exchange rate or whatever it is or that.
Do you believe he's healthy enough to even do anything about all of this plan?
Well, all of it, because there are people who have also put in government who their interest is very high. They also have paymasters, and those paymasters will not allow them to. So Tinubu is actually actually in the midst of people who are not working alongside with him. Exactly, who are not, because this is his policy, but people believe in other people. People who are most of them are for personal.
The CBN government said he has no solution to inflation.
Now, another thing, if you look at this, thankfully, I have people who are my senior here. In 1980, when I was secondary school those days, we had $1 to 60, around 80 kobo or so. And what was responsible for that? We were producing. I don't know if you recall the Volkswagen of Nigeria here in the we were producing and exporting. Just hold on. No, I'm telling you what happened. You see, we are talking about how do we get out of the cul-de-sac. I'm telling you what should take us out. We had Peugeot Automobile, and there was a policy that all government officials must drive like that made car, which of course increased the production level of that. How about Leyland in the Badon?
Nobody.
How about tractors in the Bauchi and all that? How about the rubber?
Can I jump in there? Yes, sir.
You're talking about production. The basic requirements, which is constant supply of electricity.
But what's stopped them from expanding? Those people who are
talking about production of cars. You don't even have
centralized power.
Okay, can you imagine in the whole of Lagos, sir? 20 local government aboriginal to 20.
I'm going to have to pause you.
Okay, 20. Okay.
Amit, I have to pause you because Barrister Evans Ifevi joined in with his intervention. We'll let you have a glimpse of that. We'll be right back. Please stay with us.
The best way, in my estimation, and I think Tinubu's 1 year in office can be appraised, is to look at his performance vis-a-vis the manifesto that he, used to campaign. His manifesto, he broke his manifesto into 8-point agenda. Now, that 8-point agenda is the promise he made to the people. Okay? I think it is better to review his performance vis-a-vis the 8-point agenda to see how far we have fared from the way Buhari left it off. Now, if you look at it sectorially, the 8-point agendas are: 1, food security; poverty eradication; economic growth and job creation; 4, improving security; 5, access to capital; 6, inclusivity for youths and women. The 7 is promoting fair play amongst businesses / strengthening the rule of law. And 8 is what he called fighting corruption. Now, when you look at these areas, you see that they are critical. Section 14, sub 2 of the 1999 Constitution says the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. And this is well captured in the 8-point agenda. Now, the office of the president is created by Section 130 of the 1999 Constitution, amended. And the responsibility of the president is to steer the nation in the direction of prosperity, to improve the lives of the citizens by governing in such a way that it reflects the yearning and aspiration of the Constitution as predicated in Chapter 2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, which define the socio-economic rights of the people. Now, going back to his 8-point agenda, the first is food security. When you look at food security today and what it used to be 1 year ago, when Buhari left it off, you can spot the difference. The president have failed completely on food security because what it takes to purchase 4 tubers of yam 1 year ago when Buhari was still in office, not to say Buhari did any better. It's not what it is. It's perhaps 10 times what it will cost to buy yam today. They buy the same quantity of yam today. Okay, so that is the simplest indices for, addressing this issue in a simple way, that our lives have not improved as a result of the administration of the current government. Tinubu have failed completely in food security. 2, poverty eradication. Now, upon resumption of office, on the day of his inauguration, he made a careless statement that subsidy is gone, and the lives of Nigerians since that day have not remained the same because poverty now became a testament. We were evaded by the forces of economic policy wrongly conceived, and we got into this quagmire. I know that a lot of people have argued, no, Buhari did not budget for subsidy for the budget, and so it's not Tinubu's fault. There's nothing he could have done. But I disagree. I'm an advocate of subsidy all over the world. Government subsidized items, essentials, all over the world. Nigeria is not peculiar. Nigeria's case is not different. Okay. When the president assumed, I expected him to come up with a soft landing, a policy that will sustain the subsidy for a while and then think on what to do. But here he came and announced it thoughtlessly, didn't know what to do thereafter. And then he went into the issue of palliatives. He's going to provide palliative for 12 million families across the country. That was also abandoned. He now took the funds and handed it over to governors. The governors did not provide subsidy, palliatives. No, the governors didn't provide any palliative. So the people didn't enjoy anything. As usual, the governors misdirected those funds and we went back to square one. So it tells you that this government is not strategic, it lacks systems and methods, have no foresight, didn't think through the process before embarking on that statement. And you cannot lead 200 million people that way. You can't lead 200 million people impulsively. It is wrong to so do. So I find it rather very disconcerting and intolerable that the president, knowing the precarious nature of this country, knowing how that the economy is already challenged, could make such a mistake and couldn't even find a way of ameliorating it. Didn't listen, does not listen to the citizens, does not take advice, full of himself and knowing it all, and is not able to do anything meaningful with the lives of the citizens. Leadership is about taking people from point A to point B, progressively, such that they look at their lives, they compare to where they are coming from, they can spot the difference. Today, Nigeria, we cannot really say that President Tinubu has made our lives better in the last 1 year. In the last one. So for me, evaluating his performance in the last 1 year will be to score him 1% over 100 because his policies have not done any good to the citizens of this country. Okay. Now, when you look at the third one and talk about economic growth and job creation, the economy is in bad state. Okay. I mean, inflation has taken over the stratosphere. We have inflation rate of about 33.2%. Okay, that is a disaster. Okay. You look at the economic policy of this government, it does not look like a government that is about to tackle the problem of the country or to provide solution to what is indelibly wrong with the economic system. So in looking at it, you can't really say he has done well in the economy or he has created jobs. What job has he created? The policies that he put off even took jobs away. Recently, Total Energy took huge sum of money it marked to invest in Nigeria out of the country because of the reckless and harsh policy of this government. Okay, a government that have no control of its economy. So I mean that is what it is. Then the fourth one is improving security. Tinubu has not improved security whatsoever. Okay, there's a high rate of kidnapping, banditry, insurgency. I mean, we have so many issues to contend with. And this banditry, insurgency, and kidnapping led to the problem that we have in the food crisis because the farmers left their farm because the security was not guaranteed as defined by the Constitution. So they left their farms, and then consequently upon that, food scarcity hit us because they cannot produce. Okay, when you look at the next one, the fifth one is access to capital. Access to capital is quite not visible because the banks are not lending. The ones lending are lending at very high interest rates. Okay, there's no disposable income. The people who lend, there's no guarantee that such loans will be paid back. Repayment plans and the repayment of loan is an issue because there's no disposable income in the long run. So the economy is fixated and strangulated. Yet this government keeps perambulating itself with policies that are inconsistent with the indices of growth. Look at the misery index and all that. So the variables of growth and continuity have all been shut down, and we don't have a system. Now you look at the fifth one, inclusivity of youth and women. I mean, inclusivity of youth in this government, that has not been seen just on paper. The youths are not included in any meaningful engagement. The youths are just scattered all over the places, unemployed, poor, struggling, involved in criminal activities, internet scam, and the rest of that because the country has failed them. Now, the seventh one is promoting fair play amongst business, like strengthening the rule of law. The rule of law took a nosedive the day this government came into place. I mean, there's no enforcement, there's no visible anchor or anchorage on driving the promotion of the rule of law. There is no, nobody's promoting fair play under this administration. The rich are still getting richer, the poor poorer, and all that. Then the eighth one is fighting corruption. I mean, can this government tell us they are fighting corruption? How? How are they fighting corruption? So if you look at the manifesto, the 8-point agenda failed. It has failed against the government that promised it. Now, when you backtrack to ask yourself the question, what is this government policy on education, for example? Education as the ornament of prosperity and refuge in adversity, from where you can plan forward. So why can't this government even create a stopgap? Okay, devise an educational plan, take it back to the coming generation, terminate it from there, and then create a better system for the future. We have not seen all of that. So this is an unfortunate situation. This is not about prayers, okay? Nigeria is the only country where you get people who are incompetent and you begin to pray for them for the next 4 years to perform. They cannot work. This is a question of leadership. Leadership is a capacity to see the future. It's a capacity to develop a vision, see people and places, and, prefer solution to these people and places as to how they should be than they are. Okay, so that lack of leadership is where we're really finding it very tough in this country. And that is, to say the least, the most unfortunate.
You're welcome back. Wow. So much to unpack in the conversation from Barrister Evans Sufili. So back to the gentleman in the studio. We're going to round off in a few minutes. We've seen the first 365 days. It doesn't look hopeful. Dr. Yebile has even used the word toxic. What will be the advice? Because if he fails, we all fail as Nigerians. What would be the advice for President Tinubu going forward?
I think he should be honest with himself that the situation is bad. Telling Nigerians that the country has stopped bleeding is just, deceiving himself. Things are bad. Now he needs to quickly unpack some of the functions of the federal government to the states. He needs to quickly do something about rural poverty, because that is a major trigger of inflation and poverty we have in Nigeria. So whatever he's doing with local government reforms, taking these people to court, taking the governors to court, assisting governors to court, he has to be really serious about it.
Are we as a people even serious, Emeka? Because the National Assembly is more concerned about, let's go back to the national anthem,
let's leave them.
But in a democracy, they ought to represent us. They ought to hold the president and the executive.
The National Assembly is at sea. They don't even know what the real problems are. But I think...
So how are we going to solve problems when the people who have either been selected or appointed themselves into office to save the country do not even know where to start from? Rather than holding the executive accountable, they're there to rubber stamp it. Dr. Oyegbe.
Okay. Well, I think the only time we've had an active National Assembly under the APC government was perhaps with Saraki as the
Senate president.
And as much as we are not being nostalgic that we want that kind of but for the Senate president and the House of Representatives Speaker to be seen to be pandering to the executive every time is unhealthy. The way we are going, we're going to only have yes men.
What's the way forward?
Whatever the way forward is for each and every one of them to know what they are doing, to be honest with themselves. If the advice or the action they are taking, is it really what will take Nigeria out of the dark woods? Anything other than that?
Charles, what should we, the citizens, be doing? Because positive citizenship is where everyone in a democracy is as important as the ones elected to lead.
Okay, we should be insisting on doing the right thing. Right thing, number one, from my own side, is that we should socialize, as Mecca said, by power production. And then distribution, for instance, I was mentioning about two discos or whatever. It's too inadequate for 20 Aboriginal local government and 37 SCDA, 57 North. Two, no, equal distribution, and then IKDC. It's too inadequate for a production hub like Lagos. If you can return to even the five sections of Lagos State, what do you call them? You have the Ikorodu, all of them, Ikeja and all that. You have five divisions of Lagos. You can try that and see how you can decentralize power distribution so that you can ensure that all these production hubs in those divisions are
There's a law that has broken the monopoly.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm resisting.
So who is going to do it?
It's the government.
Private investors?
No. They have to be PPP. Private partnership with government. Because government can't run. I mean, over time we've seen even in Nigeria, government cannot run
any business at all.
But if they formulate the policy that has human face, then the private sector can now latch on it and then begin to drive it along that line. Only that, if we return to production, I think Nigeria will be out of the woods.
But sorry, let me just quickly add this. When we talk about production,
consumption to production,
when we talk about production, we just say it in vague terms. So, since independence, manufacturing has only contributed 10% to the GDP of Nigeria.
It wasn't.
You can check the statistics. Yes, 10%.
Nigeria became the biggest economy in Africa under President.
Based on GDP.
Two things: agriculture and services. Those are being the major
production.
No, when you say production, I'm trying to remove manufacturing so that we don't just talk in amorphous terms. What I'm saying is that we must make agricultural sector vibrant. It was last year that services overtook agriculture.
Yes.
So what we need to do, we must ramp up agriculture into agro-processing. Then our services too must go up. So that when we do these things employ so many Nigerians, much more than the other sectors. So what we need to do when we ramp up these sectors that we've seen are very promising and generate a lot of revenue more easily than others, then of course I believe the economy will breathe. We can now remove the domestic economy from exchange rate and all of those things, because if food
are domesticated,
food is produced, if food is produced, if there's security,
you guys say that once you take hunger out of poverty, poverty
is gone. That's what I'm saying.
Is redundant.
Yes.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Charles Idero,
thank you.
Public analyst, Dr. Yinka Oyebile, communications specialist, and Emeka Madunagu, political analyst, for joining us on Tinubu's 1 year in office. It looked a little bleak, these 365 days, and your analysis have not given a lot of hope. We're just hoping that the government will take your advice. Maybe they should go back to the oral survey reports.
Let them do what they said. They'll go to church for Thanksgiving. That's all.
We must definitely also thank you for watching. You can be a part of this program by leaving your comments on our YouTube channel. It is Enterprise TV 7. It's the same Enterprise TV 7 across all social media handles. And we will see you maybe next year when Tinubu is 2 years in office. Thanks for watching. I am Olajumoke Alaodeji. Bye for now.
Enterprise TV.